He needs it to get better, they said, redirecting my merit scholarship. 11 years later, my secretary buzzed. Judge Morrison, your family is here about bail money. I set down my gavel and said, tell them court is in session for the next 3 hours. If they're still here after that, I'll give them 5 minutes. I returned my attention to the case at hand. A young woman seeking a restraining order against family members who'd stolen her identity for credit cards. The irony wasn't lost on me. Financial abuse within families was my specialty, born from expertise I'd never wanted to acquire. 11 years. 11 years since they'd redirected my full-ride scholarship to Berkeley toward Ryan's third stint in rehab, leaving me with nothing but acceptance letters I couldn't afford to accept. I was 18, valedictorian of my high school, with a future so bright it hurt to look at. The scholarship had been my ticket out, not just of our small town, but of the cycle of enabling that had consumed our family since Ryan's first arrest at 15. We need to have a family meeting, Dad had said that April evening, 2 weeks before graduation. The kitchen table was covered in paperwork I recognized, my scholarship documents. What's going on? I'd asked, though the pit in my stomach already knew. It's Ryan, Mom said, as if that explained everything. And really it did. It was always Ryan. My older brother sat across from me, fresh out of his latest court-mandated rehab, looking healthier than he had in years, but with that familiar restlessness in his eyes that meant it wouldn't last. I'm going back to treatment, he announced. A real program this time. 6 months residential. Dr. Hoffman says it's my best shot. That's great, I'd said carefully. Insurance should cover. Insurance maxed out 2 rehabs ago, Dad interrupted. But we've found a solution. That's when they explained their plan. My scholarship, $180,000 over 4 years, could be deferred and redirected to a family medical emergency with the right documentation. Ryan's addiction qualified. They'd already spoken to a lawyer about it. You want to steal my scholarship for rehab? Not steal, Mom corrected quickly. Redirect. Temporarily. When Ryan's better, he'll help pay for your college. I'd laughed, actually laughed. When has Ryan ever paid for anything? That's unfair, Ryan said, attempting wounded dignity. I'm sick, Emma. Would you deny me treatment if I had cancer? You've had treatment. 7 times. What makes this different? He needs it to get better, they said in unison, like they'd rehearsed it. This time will be different. And my education? You can take a gap year, Dad suggested. Work, save money, apply for other scholarships. I have a full ride to Berkeley. Do you understand how hard I worked for that? Ryan's worked hard too, Mom said defensively. Fighting addiction is the hardest thing anyone can do. Harder than maintaining a 4.0 while working nights and weekends? Harder than studying for the SATs with a meth-head brother stealing my textbooks to pawn. Emma, Dad slammed his hand on the table. He's your brother. And I'm your daughter. When do I get to matter? You've always mattered, Mom said, tears starting. But you're strong. You'll find another way. Ryan might die without this treatment. Ryan might die anyway. He's overdosed 3 times. Which is why he needs real help, Dad said firmly. The decision is made. We've already filed the paperwork. You can't redirect my scholarship without my consent. Actually, Ryan pulled out his phone, showing a document. You gave Mom power of attorney for educational decisions when you were a minor. It's still valid until you're 19. They'd planned this. Researched it. Conspired to steal my future while I was at school, earning the grades that had won that scholarship. I'll sue, I said desperately. I'll fight this. With what money? Dad asked quietly. And what judge would rule against parents trying to save their son's life? I looked at Ryan, who couldn't meet my eyes. You're really okay with this? Stealing my education. I'll pay you back, he mumbled. Once I'm clean, I'll get a job, help with college. Stop lying. I screamed. At least have the decency to admit you're stealing my future, and you'll never pay it back. That's enough, Mom said coldly. We're saving your brother's life. If you can't support that, maybe you should find somewhere else to stay until you can. They kicked me out that night. I spent graduation day on a friend's couch, my full ride to Berkeley evaporating while Ryan checked into his $180,000 rehab. He lasted 4 months before checking himself out AMA. I spent that year working 3 jobs, saving every penny, applying for every scholarship I could find. Nothing came close to replacing what they'd taken. I ended up at community college, then state school, then law school at night while working as a paralegal during the day. It took me 8 years to achieve what should have taken 4. But rage is a powerful motivator, and I had rage to spare. I specialized in family law with a focus on financial abuse. Turns out there were a lot of us, children whose families had stolen their futures for various emergencies. I became their voice, their advocate, their warrior in court. By 30, I was known as the lawyer who could freeze parental access to education funds. By 35, I'd successfully lobbied for legislation protecting scholarship recipients from family interference. By 40, the governor appointed me to the bench. Judge Morrison, the woman who'd lost her scholarship to Rehab and built a career on preventing it from happening to others. Which brought us to today. Ryan was in jail again, his 12th arrest, this time for dealing the same drugs he'd never stopped using. And my parents, now in their 60s, were here begging for bail money from the daughter they'd banished for not supporting their enabling. 3 hours later, I found them still in the courthouse lobby. They looked older, defeated, worn down by decades of pouring resources into a bottomless pit. Judge Morrison, Dad stood formally. Thank you for seeing us. You have 5 minutes, I said, leading them to a conference room. What do you want? Ryan's bail is set at $50,000, Mom began. We need. No, you didn't let me finish. You want money for bail. The answer is no. Next question. He's your brother, Dad said, falling back on the old refrain. He was my brother when you gave him my scholarship. That didn't protect my future. This is different. He could go to prison for 10 years. Good. Maybe he'll finally get clean. Isn't that what you always wanted? Prison isn't treatment, Mom argued. Neither was the $180,000 rehab you bought with my education. How long did he last? For months. They couldn't meet my eyes. That's what I thought. So let's be clear. You stole my scholarship for 4 months of sobriety. That's $45,000 per month. $1,500 per day. $62.50 per hour of clean time. Was it worth it? You can't put a price on someone's life, Dad said stiffly. You did. You decided Ryan's life was worth exactly 1 Berkeley scholarship. My Berkeley scholarship. We're not here to relitigate the past, Mom said tiredly. We're here because Ryan needs help. Ryan's needed help for 23 years. You've bankrupted yourselves, alienated your daughter, and enabled him into a dozen arrests. When does it end? When he gets better, she whispered. He's never getting better. You know that, right? The boy you're trying to save doesn't exist anymore. Hasn't for decades. That's cruel, Dad said. That's reality. The same reality I faced at 18 when you stole my future for his pipe dream of sobriety. So you won't help? Mom's voice broke. I'll help. Just not the way you want. I pulled out my phone, made a call. Janet, Judge Morrison, I need you to file a petition for financial conservatorship. Elder financial abuse situation. Yes, the parents are here now. Thank you. What are you doing? Dad demanded. Protecting you from yourselves. You're about to drain your retirement for bail money for someone who'll jump bail or violate within a week. I'm stopping it. You can't. I'm a judge. I can and I will. You've proven incapable of making sound financial decisions regarding Ryan. The court will appoint a conservator to protect your assets. From our own son? From your inability to stop enabling him. 23 years, 12 arrests, and you still think the next rehab, the next bail, the next chance will be different. We can't just abandon him, Mom cried. You abandoned me. For him. Every time. At least I was worth abandoning. I built something with my life. What's Ryan built except a criminal record? How did you become so heartless? Dad asked. I learned from the best. You taught me that love means taking from the successful child to give to the failing one. That sacrifice is always mine to make, never Ryan's. Well, I'm done sacrificing. We sacrificed too, Mom protested. We've spent everything. You spent everything on an addict who didn't want to get clean. I spent everything on an education you tried to steal. See the difference? Emma, please, Dad's voice broke. He's our son. And I was your daughter. Past tense. You made it clear 11 years ago that I was just a resource to be strip-mined for Ryan's benefit. We made a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. You systematically stole my future and threw me out when I objected. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. My phone buzzed. Janet was here with the paperwork. Sign these, I said when she arrived. It assigns a neutral third party to oversee your finances, protecting you from further exploitation. By our own son? Mom repeated. by your own inability to say no to him. This conservator will ensure your bills are paid, your retirement is protected, and Ryan can't drain you dry. And if we refuse, then you leave here, bail out Ryan with money you don't have, and continue the cycle until you're homeless. Your choice. They signed. What else could they do? There's one more thing, I said as they prepared to leave. I'm establishing a scholarship at Berkeley. Full ride for students whose families have redirected their education funds. It'll be called the MORRISON Second Chance Scholarship. That's wonderful, Mom said weakly. It's necessary, because families like ours exist everywhere. Parents who see their successful child's resources as a piggy bank for their failing child's needs. We never meant. Yes, you did. You meant to take my scholarship. You meant to kick me out. You meant to choose Ryan over me, again and again and again. Own it. What about Ryan? Dad asked quietly. He's still in jail. Then he's safe, sober, and housed. That's more than he's been in years. You really won't help with bail? I am helping. I'm breaking the cycle. Ryan goes to jail, serves his time, and maybe, just maybe, realizes his family ATM is finally closed. And if he dies in there, then he dies. Just like he could have died any of the 100 times he overdosed while you were enabling him. At least in prison, it won't be on your dime. They left without another word. I watched them go. Two people who'd spent decades throwing good money after bad, who'd sacrificed their retirement, their relationships, and their daughter for an addict who'd never wanted saving. That night, I called Berkeley's financial aid office. I want to fund a full scholarship, I said, for a student whose family has redirected or stolen their education funds. That's very generous, Judge Morrison. Any particular inspiration? Personal experience. My parents redirected my scholarship to my brother's rehab. He left treatment after 4 months and never got clean. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me who I am. And who I am is someone who ensures no other student loses their future to family dysfunction. The scholarship amount? $180,000 over 4 years. The exact amount they stole from me. And the name? The Morrison Second Chance Scholarship. Because everyone deserves a second chance at their dreams. Even if their family stole the first one. I hung up and looked at my law degree, my judgeship certificate, my life built from the ashes of their betrayal. Ryan was in jail. My parents were protected from themselves. And somewhere at Berkeley, a brilliant student would get the chance I'd lost. Ryan had needed it to get better, they'd said. But I'd needed it to get started. And between the two, only one of us had delivered on our potential. The verdict was clear. Investing in success beats enabling failure every time. Case closed.